They are instructed to be very careful with how they carry out these maneuvers. This suspect, there was a time there where I thought this thing was coming to a close, and now we're going again. So we're in the streets of Compton. Now we're on surface streets. We've been on a highway this entire time. Now we're finally off of the highway. We were on the 91 for the longest time, heading westbound. Now we're in the city of Compton, where police are finally hot on this person's tail. They're coming up to the side of the car. Again, the front driver's side tire is blown out, and they very well might be going for a pit right now. So the officer is going to try and slide the back tire out, try and stall the vehicle. That attempt unsuccessful. It looked like that might have just have been a blown red light. So an incredibly dangerous situation, and we'll remind the viewers, viewer discretion is advised. This is not on a delay. This is a live feed. Anything can happen. A very dangerous situation unfolding in Compton, California. And yeah, they're just blowing straight through a red light there. So this is an incredibly scary scene as this driver who has at least one damaged tire making their way through the surface streets in Compton, California. I'm curious why the chopper is so far away. Sometimes when we see the chopper get, and they might be going for another pit, coming up to a red light, blowing straight through. This is a felony suspect. We'll remind that we don't know what this person is wanted for. Fox 11 Los Angeles saying this is a felony suspect. What exact situation they're tied to is unknown. But this has been a multi-county chase. We've seen it go through LA County, Orange County. Now we're back in LA County. We've seen a pit, at least one pit attempt so far. It seemed like police were in tracking mode for the longest time because the suspect was driving erratically. And I'm curious if at some point they were able to get the spike strips on this car because, and it seems that we lose an elevation in the chopper. I'm curious why the vantage point, and it's almost impossible to see at this point. And I'm just working purely off of speculation right now. Sometimes air traffic can be busy around airports. I don't know if they're in the immediate vicinity of any airports right now, but that could explain why we're getting such an awkward angle of this pursuit. And LAX is far away, I know, and I can't think of any other reason why air traffic might be impacted by this. We do know that the news chopper is sharing the airspace with the police chopper. We saw the police chopper. For the longest time, it looked like the police chopper was the only law enforcement that was tracking this thing. But now we see at least one police vehicle immediately on the tail of this red sedan that's been, I think we've been following this now for at least, feels like at least a half hour now. I believe we've been following this. So we are about 10 miles away from LAX. There is a Long Beach airport. Curious if that perhaps impacts air traffic, because that, I cannot think of any other reason why, it is pretty tricky to see exactly what's happening here, but we'll do our best to make sense of the images on our screen as we've seen them blow through a number of red lights. This really was a fairly calm, although it was a very fast pursuit. There was not any police behind the suspect when they were traveling on the highways, on the freeways. Now that we're in the surface streets and we're seeing more red lights being blown, we're seeing pit maneuver attempts, this thing has really picked up. And obviously, with the added variable of the driver's side tire being destroyed, that could make for worse traction. We may be losing the feed. We'll stick with this. I'm curious if the feed has been dropped completely. Okay, we're coming back online here. Our news gathering crews doing their best. And I'm curious if that's the police chopper in the distance. I don't see any red and blue flashing lights down below. It's impossible to make out where exactly this chase is. So I'll reset here, and I'll just remind everybody what we know about the situation, as it looks like they're trying to reset themselves and maybe find this pursuit again. If that is the police chopper in the distance, that could give us some indication as to where they're tracking it. But I don't see the red sedan. I don't see the flashing police lights. There they are, zooming in on that chopper I was talking about. So you see the night sun right there. That's that big spotlight they use to shine a light. Looks like the police choppers, for a second at least, looked like it might have been doing a circle. We do not have direct contact with the chopper, I should mention. So we're not entirely sure where this pursuit has gone. We thought maybe for a second that they might be going back to refuel, but it looks like they're searching for this pursuit suspect. Again, we thank you for tuning in on your smart TV, on YouTube, or on TikTok, wherever you're joining us from. We're doing our best here to get this chase back in focus and perhaps find that red sedan that was being pursued by police. That police chopper was circling around something. It's just tough to make out from this angle where anything is. So I'm curious if perhaps there's some sort of air restriction in the area that's preventing the chopper. We don't have direct contact with the pilot, unfortunately. But I'm curious if there's perhaps some sort of, and here's a better visualization to kind of give anybody that may be familiar with the area. It's always good to know exactly what streets could be impacted. So there's a police car. I'm Austin Westfall. We're continuing to track this situation. What you're looking at on your screen right now is a double box. We're trying our best to figure out exactly what we're looking at here. So let's go to a single box. Yes. So this is live. They did find this red sedan. Now, they have that suspect on the ground. So viewer discretion is advised. We don't know how this thing played out. We just know that the chopper lost visual, and while we were in the commercial break, they were able to reestablish this visual of this red sedan, And we now see a suspect on the ground. We see that this vehicle has, and we have to underline the fact that we didn't see this pursuit come to an end. So we're working in the realm of speculation here, but I would say it's fair to assume that we're working with a red sedan suspect, and now we see a crashed red sedan. This suspect on the ground in cuffs. Again, we don't know exactly what this suspect is wanted for. All we know is that they believe this is a felony suspect. What exact type of charge? We don't know for sure. We do know that we're now staring at a red sedan that has crashed into some sort of, I'll call it a barricade for now. It's hard to make out exactly what it is. But this suspect on the ground, we don't know if anybody's been injured. It looked like this suspect was in cuffs, and it looks like they're going to put them in this wheelchair. Local, and yeah, that's the LAFD. So the LA Fire Department is on scene working with what appears to be an injured suspect outside of this red sedan after we just saw this pursuit that spanned two counties, Orange County and LA County, now ending up back in LA County where this thing has come to a conclusion. We don't have the exact streets. And we're glad we didn't completely lose visual. And we're glad we could at least bring you the conclusion of this thing, because it appeared for a second there that we might not have any conclusion. But the unfortunate thing is we don't have any details about how this played out off camera. The suspect was driving in excess of 120 miles per hour at times, going through Orange County, which is basically a neighboring county to Los Angeles County. They made their way through Anaheim, through North Long Beach, through Compton, police trying a pit maneuver. We don't know if a pit maneuver is what ended up bringing this to an end, and that's a highway patrol wrapped vehicle. So this is CHP. No surprises given that this was largely on California's freeways, LA County's freeways. And the Los Angeles Fire Department, we are presuming, loading this suspect up where they will be transported to an area hospital for evaluation. And we don't know exactly what types of charges this person was wanted for, but we can tell you that a long list of charges was added to it when they decided to flee from police. And I think that caps off roughly 45 minutes. I think this is when we picked this up around 8:34 Pacific time, 11:34 on the East Coast. So now your time is 20 minutes past midnight on the East Coast, 20 minutes past 9 LA time, where all of this is taking place. Last we saw the tracker on, they were following the suspect through southeast Los Angeles. We saw them go through Compton. Getting official confirmation now from Fox LA that this is in fact the suspect that we're looking at right now. We could presume such. Looks like there's a leg injury involved. Got that leg wrapped, and we got the suspect vehicle right there. So that's that red sedan that we were tracking for most of the evening. We don't know if a pit maneuver is what caused this vehicle to crash. We don't know if the vehicle crashed on its own. We don't know if any other cars were involved. We don't immediately see any other vehicles impacted, and I'm curious if they're panning to another crime scene, and they very well could be doing that, yes. So, okay, so I'm wondering if there was an accident that took place. So it does, and if this is connected, again, we have no official word, but it's very possible here that we're talking about, and we saw this suspect blowing through several red lights, and it looks like it's very possible that they did hit somebody in one of these intersections. And then this pursuit coming to a close a number of blocks down the road from that collision, and